Hi, I'm Jenny, a technical writer who helps make complex tech easier to use. But I don't just write. This is the story of how I transformed the onboarding process for a cloud-based storage and analysis platform. A lot of advantages to storing and analyzing data in the cloud, and NIH is funding several end-to-end platforms for researchers and bioinformaticians designed to do everything they need in a browser instead of on local computing infrastructure. The problem is clouds are awfully hard to use out of the box. There's a lot of things to set up, like storage for massive amounts of data, figuring out the virtual machines you need, finding the right tools, being able to work with collaborators with the security that you need. It's pretty overwhelming if you're working directly with like Google or Azure. I wrote documentation for an NIH-funded web platform, which was designed to do the heavy lifting and help move biomedical data storage and analysis to the cloud. Even with a platform developed to help, transitioning to the cloud is incredibly challenging. It's like switching from Windows to Mac, but multiplied by 10. To combat this complexity, our onboarding workshops had a ton of content-heavy slide decks. There was no hands-on work. We told people about the platform instead of getting them using the platform. We knew our onboarding wasn't working because lots of people signed up but never did a single thing on the platform. Even with all the documentation, Terra was still just too intimidating. One reason we didn't have a hands-on tutorial was that there was no typical user. These are all the personas that we were developing things for. If we developed a tutorial based on a real-world use case, it was hyper-specific. Usually took a week or more to develop, and it only made sense to a handful of users. In other words, it was not a good way to spend our team's limited time, hence the lack of hands-on work in workshops. I knew from my own experience how game-changing it was to run that first successful analysis in Terra. We needed a use case that held all the components of a real research study, but was simple enough that everyone could map it to their own data and tools. Over a long weekend, I dreamed up a mock study that could be used as the basis of a universal hands-on exercise. It posed the very serious scientific question, how does a middle school student's height affect their grade? I created a tutorial workspace on Terra with synthetic data and analysis tools like workflows and Jupyter notebooks. Workshop participants spent most of their time working directly in the platform to organize the mock data and run a simple analysis. The last step was plotting grades versus height for a subset of 8 students. Like all science, the results could be surprising. We revamped our workshops, cutting presentations from 45 minutes to 5 or 10 minutes so people could spend most of the time running the Quickstart right in the platform. Getting people through an end-to-end analysis in 30 minutes made them more likely to try it again on their own and recommend the platform to friends. It was a huge onboarding win. If you're struggling with engagement, maybe you can use some creative onboarding too.